2026 has been a huge year for movies. So far, the box office has grossed its best numbers since COVID and the lull of theatrical success that followed that. Now that our two big summer movies, and The Odyssey and Spider Man Brand New Day, have come and gone, I wanted to sit down and go through all of the 2026 movies that I've seen so far and rank them from worst to best. Starting off with some honorable mentions for some movies that I just haven't gotten the chance to see, but definitely look forward to catching whenever I have the time. Hoppers, Blue Heron, 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple, The Bride, Evil Dead Rising, I Love Boosters, and Remarkably Bright Creatures. These are all ones that I really look forward to seeing, but just need to find some time to really sit down and enjoy them, and definitely regret missing them while they were in theaters. Without further ado, let's start off this list. And starting in last place at number 34, we have Primate, a movie that I was very disappointed in, considering it had a lot of good critic feedback going into it. And I thought it was a very interesting theme and a good horror topic to touch on in a film. I thought it fell flat with that premise, but I did love all of the practical effects that they used. I thought the acting could use a little bit of work, and the writing was very repetitional and ended up being pretty weak. I thought there was a lot more they could have done with this movie, but it ended up just being a little too linear, a little too basic for my liking, which leaves it at number 34 in last place. Next at number 33, we have Little Brother, starring John Cena and Eric Andre. It definitely ranked this low on my list because I'm a little biased. I'm not a big fan of Eric Andre's style of humor. And that's where my main problem came from this. I didn't think his and John Cena's humor really meshed too well. And I thought it was way too over the top and way too forced, trying to make some big, dramatic, crazy jokes to really land with the audience. I didn't think it landed. I think it fell flat. The plot was all right. It was kind of a basic and boring premise. It wasn't the worst. At number 32, we have Scary Movie 6, now the sixth entry in the Scary Movie franchise. I think this was very disappointing because it didn't really have a plot, and it relied too much on nostalgia baiting by bringing back the original cast from the first movie now in the sixth entry and making that way too much of the draw and the premise of the movie. I also think in the marketing, they emphasized way too much of their offensive jokes. And then when the movie came around, I didn't think they took any big swings in jokes, and nothing really was offensive. It was all, pretty mundane and basic jokes. And I think they just played it too safe with that, and the marketing really shot itself in the foot. Number 31, a movie I have talked about before in a previous video, we have Moana 2026, the now live action adaptation of Moana. My main problems is it's a full rehashing of the animated story, and it lacks all of the color and passion that came with that original movie, and I think it really fell flat in all of that. Number 30, we have The Crash, which is actually a Netflix documentary. It's about 90 minutes, so I decided to put it on here, and I've seen it on other lists as well. It's a very interesting story, about a very, tragic event that took place. My main problem with is the way it was written and the way they make characters out in it. I think they put too much emphasis on characterizing one person as the villain rather than, being completely honest and unbiased about all the people involved and allowing the viewer to make, their own interpretation of who's good, who's bad, and what all happened. Number 29, we have Wuthering Heights. I thought it had a very good cast. Really enjoyed Margot Robbie and Jacob Elordi in the movie. From what I've heard about the book, which I have not gotten a chance to read yet, there were too many changes made, and it was very inaccurate in adapting that book. And I think it tried way too hard to make big swings in feelings and emotions in what was done in the movie, and it felt very forced. And the plot wasn't fleshed out well enough. It wasn't, they didn't dig deep enough into the connection between these two characters, and it felt very forced and just slapped together. Number 28, we have Super Mario Galaxy, a sequel to the first Super Mario movie. I thought it was better than the first, but I think the Mario movies have a very low ceiling. I thought the voice acting crew was very good, but my biggest disappointment in it was that they brought Brie Larson into it to play such a great character and really wasted that opportunity. She wasn't in it more than a few scenes, and didn't have very many voice lines. I thought it was an interesting story and it was fun to keep up with, but nothing to write home about. Number 27, we have The Iron Lung, made by YouTuber Markiplier, written, directed, acted, and financed by him. I thought it was a very interesting premise based off a video game, and it was very creatively made. The visuals and story were pretty impressive. I enjoyed it. It was a good time in the theaters, and I'm glad it actually did get a theatrical release. Yeah, it was very interesting, very, frightening and disturbing at some points. And I look forward to him hopefully continuing to make films and see what else he can produce. Number 26, we have The Mandalorian and Grogu, the latest entry into the Star Wars cinematic lineup. I thought it was fun. I do think that it really felt like just two different episodes mashed together and put into a film. I thought the cast was good and the action was very enjoyable. Pedro Pascal was good as always, and I loved the addition of Jeremy Allen White into this movie. I thought the visuals were fine. I think colors were a little muddy at some points, and the emotional core was a little shallow throughout it, but it was an enjoyable movie. At number 25, we have How to Make a Killing starring Glenn Powell. I was a little disappointed going into this movie because it was an A24 film. I expected it to be a lot more in depth and a lot more complex of a movie that really challenged the audience a little more, but it was enjoyable. The action was fine. It had a really good cast and great performances from Glenn Powell and Margaret Qualley. It was a fun movie, not too long. I would definitely watch it again. Number 24, we have Masters of the Universe. I definitely enjoyed this. It was something new that I'm glad we got, and I wish it got a little more respect in the box office. It had a really good cast and great performances all around, except for one, which is my main drawback in this, is that Jared Leto was involved, and we all know the trail of financial disasters in the movies he has been in lately. Other than that, I really did like the visual bright colors, and I like that they kept a very fun, simple story and also kept it away from Earth. They had the short scenes on Earth and then quickly got into the mystical, magical realm that this movie took place in and really fleshed that out more that I did like. Number 23, we have Send Help, a movie I'm a little lower on than a lot of other people. Great Sam Raimi movie, and you can really feel his style come to life in that. Rachel McAdams gave an incredible performance that I suspect will definitely be nominated for a few awards early next year. It was really campy and a little too over the top, and a little too, gory and graphic for my liking. But that's just me. I'm definitely biased against that. And I did feel the story was a little too linear, and it didn't take as many twists and turns as I would have liked. But a good movie nonetheless. Number 22, we have Minions and Monsters, the newest addition to the Minions story, filling in a lot of empty spots in their timeline and their history, which I loved. It also serves as such a great love letter to old cinema and old movies with so many Easter eggs and references in it. Nothing much to say. Very funny movie, good visuals. I definitely say I liked the first half of it a lot more than the second half, but a very enjoyable summer 2026 movie. Number 21, we have Supergirl, a movie that disappointed in the box office, but I really enjoyed it. I thought it had great acting from Millie Alcock and Jason Momoa, now starring as Lobo in this. I thought it had a good story, but my main disappointment came from the comic storyline that it was adapting in Woman of Tomorrow, a comic that is known for being very visually appealing, bright colors, and great emotional character moments. And I think the story fell flat with that. Once again, muddied down colors, didn't try to, create anything all too bright. And it was slightly disappointing in bringing that emotional core to the screen. Now, a few movies that I'm a little higher on than others. Starting at number 20, we have Crime 101. I thought it was a very fun story, and I definitely enjoyed seeing it in theaters, especially the great cast that it brings to the movie. Chris Hemsworth, Mark Ruffalo, Halle Berry, and Barry Keoghan. I really enjoyed all of them in it. Not too complex of a story, not too complex of a twist, but it's a good, enjoyable sit-down action thriller. No problem with that. My only real problem is the American accent that they forced on Chris Hemsworth. I didn't think that really landed, but what can you do? Number 19, we have Punisher One Last Kill. I thought the first half of this was very great in the way it used very haunting visual storytelling to show all of the devastation and destruction that had gone on in Little Sicily. I really enjoyed John Bernthal's performance in it, all of the action that took place in it, as well as the emotional core of him struggling with survivor's guilt. I thought it was a very emotional movie, very short, technically just long enough to not be considered a short film, but I enjoyed watching it. I've seen it twice this year, watched it again before Spider-Man, and I definitely enjoy it. At number 18, I have The Rip. Another great cast in here with Ben Affleck, Matt Damon, Tiana Taylor, Stephen Ewan, Kyle Chandler. I thought it had great tension and a great twist throughout, a great drama, a great crime thriller. I did think the third act fell a little flat. It kind of felt like they were forcing some big set piece in there and it wasn't really needed in this movie, but I really enjoyed it. I look forward to seeing it again at some point this year. Number 17, Power Ballad, starring Paul Rudd and Nick Jonas, a movie I very much enjoyed. Cast was great, had good music. I've been listening to the song from it for a few months now since seeing it. Once again, a movie that I felt was a little too overhyped from critics, mainly talking about Paul Rudd's performance. I thought he was good in it, but a lot of the critics made it seem like this was by far his best performance, and I just didn't see it in this movie. I did like the good emotional ending, and I liked the story they followed throughout. Very fun film. At number 16, we have The Devil Wears Prada 2. It's a sequel of a classic movie brought back so many years later, keeping the same main cast, and it's a great cast in general with three of the greatest actresses of our lifetime. I thought the fashion was also good in it, and I really liked the way it winded the stories between the first up until now, and really filled in the gaps of what all these characters have been up to and been doing in how many years since the first movie leading up to the second. I thought the story was all right. I thought some of the character development and character bonds could have been a little better, but I enjoyed it. Definitely a very good movie. Number 15, a movie I'm a lot lower on than other people. We have Michael, recently crossed the $1 billion mark, so congratulations to Michael on joining the $1 billion club. I thought it was a fun, entertaining movie, and of course, that's what movies are for, to be fun and entertain the viewer. But my problems with it, I think they played it way too safe when showing such a controversial figure like Michael Jackson to some. I thought it was a great family oriented story, but I felt they left way too many of the characters in his family, lacking character depth and lacking any arc or any flaws in their character. I also think they pushed way too much for such a flawless protagonist, didn't really show any negatives about him other than trying to push how great of a person he was. And I felt they were also way too scared to say anything with some of their messages, involving domestic abuse in the movie, gang violence. I felt they expected the viewer to just know everything there was to know about Michael Jackson and didn't really, take a stance or make any message out of some of those events. Number 14, we have The Backrooms. I love that this movie was made by such a young director in Kane Parsons and is looking to really inspire a lot more young filmmakers to really go out and make something they're passionate about. It's an amazing indie film, and once again, will be a great avenue for young filmmakers. That had a great cast and great performances from Renee Renz and Chiwetel Ejiofor. I thought the second half got a little off the rails and got a little weird, but I love the sets that they used to depict the back rooms, as well as some of the found footage scenes early on in the movie. Next, at number 13, we have Toy Story 5. I was very impressed with how they were able to get back on track after the flop that some saw in Toy Story 4. I really liked that it was a good Jessie-centric story and followed her character, fleshed her out more, and brought a great emotional core to the film. As well, I really enjoyed the Buzz side plot. I thought that was very enjoyable and had some very great animation in that and great visuals. At number 12, we have Pressure, a movie I really enjoyed and regretted not seeing in theaters. I thought it had incredible performances from both Andrew Scott and Brendan Fraser. I thought the cinematography and the music were really great towards the ending of the movie. Some very intense moments, great acting, great scenes, and I thought they took what some could see as kind of a dull story that took place in such a devastating and grand part of our world history. They turned it into a great movie and something that you're really intrigued in and following along. Really enjoyed Pressure. Number 11, I have Sheep Detective starring Hugh Jackman. I thought it was a very well told, emotional story targeted for kids. Obviously, had such a star studded cast as some of the humans in the movie and voicing some of the sheep. I thought the visuals and the CGI was really good, and the message that it leaves the viewer with was also very well done. Number 10, one of my newest watches that I just caught the other day, finally, Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie. Such an incredible landmark in filmmaking here. I thought it had a good, funny story following the two main characters, but the part that really brought it this high for me was the incredible filmmaking in it. It's filmed as a documentary style, so it really blurs the lines of what was fully acted, what was improv, who in the background are hired stand in extras, or are they real people just interacting with these actors in it. I really like that. And especially because it was 18 years in the making following their original show in 2007. So much of it was filmed back then when they originally wrote this film and wrote this idea, and now followed up on and finished 18 years later in 2025. Very incredible feat right there, and I have to bring it into the top 10. Number 9, one of my favorite horror movies of the year, we have Leviticus. I thought it was a very interesting premise with the horror involved, and I thought it was very frightening, really keeps you on edge, and the pacing was good. It keeps you really, invested in the movie and, ready to see what happens next. I thought the acting was really good. The emotion in it was really good. I personally really enjoyed the Frank Ocean needle drop towards the end for the credits. My only real problem was that it was too short. It was only about 80 minutes, an hour 20. I expected it to be a lot longer. And me and my friend Joey, that I went to see it with, were pretty surprised when it ended so early. It was a great film, and I'm glad it got made, and look forward to more from the director, studio, and actors. At number 8, I have Tuner. Great performance from one of my favorite younger actors, Leo Woodle. Very excited to see him continue to get more bigger roles, especially later this month in Tony, and next year in the next Lord of the Rings movie. I thought it had a lot of great emotion, and the stakes felt very real in the movie. Storytelling, writing was great, and the sound design blew me away because of so much of the movie is about hearing and a lack of hearing. So seeing it in theaters, the sound design and really the silence in the theater that they were able to capture was incredible. Number 7, a movie I am very, very high on compared to a lot of other people. And this begins my group of 5 star movies that I have given so far this year from number 7 to number 1. Number 7, we have Disclosure Day. I think this was led by an award-winning performance from Emily Blunt, one of the best performances of the year, and in my opinion, the best of her career. It was a very fun and classic alien story from Steven Spielberg. The third act was incredible and had so many great performances. The visuals and emotions were very good, and I loved the writing of how we wrap the story around and how you start to pick up the pieces and learn more about what's going on as it unfolds. Number 6, we have Spider Man Brand New Day. I love that we finally got back to a grounded street level Spider Man movie, really based in his emotions. I loved the great performances from the entire cast. It was a great cast and so many characters. It felt like I've said before, just a comic book put onto the screen. I was really impressed by the practical stunts, practical action, practical costumes, and the effects that they used in this movie. I love that, they went back to that and that approach for a superhero movie. I also really loved the message that the movie leaves you with, and how it can stand on its own, and the music that they used in it, especially from Bad Bunny, Steve Lacy, and Tame Impala. Number 5, the drama. This movie recently just got added to HBO Max, so I'm definitely looking forward to seeing it again soon. Really enjoyed this movie. One of my favorite theatrical experiences of recent memory. I thought the performances from Zendaya and Robert Pattinson were incredible. A great original story and writing, and the tension was amazing. It really keeps you drawn in, wondering, what these characters are going to do next, how they're going to continue to get in their own way and mess things up for themselves. Really enjoyed this movie. Looking forward to see it again for sure. Number 4, we have The Invite, a recent release directed and starring Olivia Wilde, as well as Seth Rogen, Penelope Cruz, and Edward Norton. I think everyone had a great performance in this. I love the humor in it, especially Seth Rogen's more physical acting and humor. I thought that was incredible, as well as the way Olivia Wilde directed it and the cinematography. The entire movie takes place in this one apartment. They found so many ways to stop it from feeling stale, and all of the different angles and spots they could film from to show the different characters and different sides of the apartment. I thought that was incredible, as well as the upbeat pacing. This is one of the best paced movies I've ever seen, and the way it just continues to string you along and doesn't get slow in any parts. Now, entering the top 3, at 3, I have Obsession, an amazing low budget horror movie, which has been one of the most financially successful movies of all time compared to its budget. Its budget was just under $1 million, and it ended its theatrical run breaking 400 million. Very incredible performances, especially from Indy Neveretti, The action and horror in it was amazing. The emotion was great. And it touched on a lot of very terrifying ideas and topics that I was interested to see on screen. And I think they did a great job. And I'm looking forward to seeing what Curry Barker can do next. Big fan of his. I've watched a handful of his short films recently, and I'm looking forward to see what he does next with a higher budget and a bigger cast. Number two, Project Hail Mary. This movie was number one on my list for the longest time until this summer. The visuals were incredible. Ryan Gosling gives an incredible performance with a lot of humor and heartfelt moments. And I loved how they wrote so many of the characters in this. And it's incredible that they got the audience to attach and feel connected to a character that was a rock. I really enjoyed that. Writing was great. The sound design was really good, and the visual CGI were beautiful. So many great bright colors, and such a fun story. I also am looking forward to rewatching soon now that it is on Prime Video. And now, I assume a surprise to nobody, a film that I've already made a full, very long video about. The Odyssey. Some of my favorite things about this, the practical effects and costumes they used on it, that they shot it on location so much, as well as the cast and the incredible performances that came from so many of them. Matt Damon, Tom Holland, Anne Hathaway, Robert Pattinson, Zendaya. So many great performances, so many great people in this film. Another great entry from Christopher Nolan. The cinematography was incredible. The story was great. The pacing was great. It was a 3-hour movie, and it did not feel near 3 hours. It went by very fast and was very enjoyable. I've seen it 3 times now. Very emotional, and I love the message that it leaves the viewer with. There is my ranked list so far, the 34 movies that I have seen this year. I'm looking forward to a lot more movies coming out soon, especially this month. A lot of movies I'm looking forward to in August. Let me know what you guys thought of my list. Were there any movies I was too high on? Any I was too low on? Let me know what you would change. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.